Welcome back to the show. Most played rivalry in NFL history resumes Saturday night, and the Bears host the Packers as underdogs. These two teams split the season series, with the Bears winning the last game back in Week 16 by 6. Here's first-year head coach Ben Johnson when asked about arriving at the playoffs after the team had finished last in the division in 2024.
We're going to go all out for this game, and we'll worry about the future when that time comes, but now it's not the time to look back and reflect.
That's what we do. That's what we're here to do on HQ Spotlight. We've got guys from Pushing the Pile, Mike Renner and JP Acosta. So Ben Johnson, Mike, won't reflect on what he's done to get here, but we will. What has stood out to you about what he's done here for the 2 seed?
I think it's the development of Caleb Williams. You know, you look at what his rookie season was and just the dysfunction that was the Bears organization last year, and just how much better Caleb looks at this point in time. He's basically eliminated those issues. It was a historically bad season from Caleb Williams in terms of taking sacks. That just completely reversed. That is not a part of the Bears offense anymore. And I think it's how he's changed what he did in Detroit with Jared Goff to fit Caleb Williams. This is one of the most explosive passing attacks in the NFL because they have a quarterback who can actually attack downfield in a way that Jared Goff could never in Detroit. So I've been very impressed with Ben Johnson, just the flexibility with which he's adjusted to the talent there. And it's hard to argue with the results here as the 2 seed.
On top of what Ben Johnson has done with helping Caleb Williams grow this season, he's also created a lot of sustainability on the ground through the run game. And I think that's really helped Caleb Williams as a passer. Mike talked about how well he's throwing the ball downfield, but the reason they're able to do that is because they are so efficient moving the football as a rushing offense. When you go out and get Joe Thuney, you go out and get Jonah Jackson as your guards, you have Drew Dalman at center. I think they've created a physical, a movement-based offensive line, and their run game has become super efficient, and it's also changed this season. They started out with being more trying to be inside zone, a lot of power, counter stuff, but then they realized that didn't work, and Ben Johnson molded that offense once again into what it's been over the last few weeks to finish out this season. So I've been really impressed with how he's adapted and how he's made some sustainability for an offense in Chicago that hasn't really had that.
So we're looking at longest active playoff win droughts, which the Bears find themselves on this list with the other teams. Also, guys, we know it's a year of worst to first. We seem to have at least one every season in the NFL, JP, but to have 3, Chicago, by the way, what would you say with the other 2 that we've seen in the NFL this season?
I think going from worst to first for Chicago, I think that means so much. It's considering who you're in the division with. You had to go past the Lions, who, of course, they lost Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, but that is still an incredibly talented team. Green Bay added Micah Parsons in the preseason and also was one of the best teams in the NFL at the time. Minnesota's also incredibly coached, although we know how Minnesota's season turned out. But the fact that they're able to do this in the NFC North, where so much and so many teams are super well coached, they're aggressive, they have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball in that division. The Bears being able to come out on top of that, even without a defense that's played super great all season, it's been really impressive for Ben Johnson, for that coaching staff, and also for some of that top talent they've acquired.
Yeah, the North was one of 3 divisions in NFL history to have all teams finish at or above 500. You know, this wasn't like the rest of the North fell off and the Bears got to the top like the other worst to first around the NFL. This was the Bears actually just out-dueling the rest of the NFC North. So this isn't a fluke. This wasn't lucky. The Bears are here, and they're going to be here for a long time.
If the betting line holds, which would be interesting to see, Chicago would be the second 2 seed to ever be an underdog in a playoff opener, but Katie will like this. 2011 49ers, 3.5-point dogs against the Saints, and they won that game outright. All right, let's get to impact players for the Bears this week. You guys have actually both targeted the same position group. Mike, why don't you start us off?
I'm going with Montez Sweat. To me, he's the Bears' best edge rusher. He should be. I mean, he's their highest paid edge rusher. And he had 51 pressures this year to lead the Bears, but he's the guy that has to generate the pressure for this team. Now, Zach Tom's going to be back. That's a big help for the Green Bay Packers because if you look this year, Jordan Love has the biggest difference of any quarterback in the NFL in terms of effectiveness. His passer rating has the biggest difference from when he's kept clean to when he's under pressure this season. So someone has to get home. That has been why the Packers offense has matched up so well in the first 2 rounds against the Chicago Bears, is that They just haven't been able to get to Jordan Love or Malik Willis. That has to change, but this Bears defensive line, 29th in pressure rate this season. I don't know if it will. If it will, it's going to come through Montez Sweat.
I'm sticking on the defensive line. I'm actually going with Montez Sweat's running mate. I'm going with Austin Booker in this game. And I think Austin Booker is the guy that I choose over Sweat because he plays with a little bit more urgency. He plays with a little more oomph to his game than Sweat at this point. I feel like Austin Booker has the juice. He has the bend. I think there's still a lot of stuff that he has to improve on as a player, but he brings a lot of energy to that pass rush, to a defense that, like Mike said, is 29th in pressure rate. If they can't affect Jordan Love in this game, Jordan Love's going to pick him apart. And so I think Booker playing over against Rasheed Walker at left tackle, I think there's a lot more opportunities for him to get pressures. They have to convert those pressures into sacks. I think Austin Booker is primed for a really big impact game.
You guys brought up Jordan Love. He's off the injury report dealing with that concussion, so all roads lead to him starting. And if anything went wrong, normally would say Malik Willis would be there more than a serviceable backup, but his health is a question coming into this week as well. So, Mike, what do you think about Love's return here and just that quarterback position group as a whole entering this game?
Yeah, it's obviously concerning, right? You never want to have two guys banged up going in because, well, we saw what Clayton Tune looked like in Week 18, and it's not going to win them this football game. So they better be healthy, but concussion, as long as he's cleared to play, I'm not too worried about Jordan Love. It really does come down to, can they keep him clean? Because anytime you're coming back from an injury, that lives in the back of your head under pressure. That's the biggest worry, is that Jordan Love hasn't been that great under pressure this season. Third worst passer rating under pressure of any quarterback in the NFL. So keeping him clean, and I trust Matt LaFleur to do whatever it takes to do so. He's one of the best at scheming his quarterback clean pockets via chips, via max pros, things of that nature.
I'm not super concerned. I think if they're clearing Jordan Love to play in this game, I think he's going to be good in this game, especially because, like we said, the Bears' impact players are pass rushers because they don't get pressure. And if the Bears aren't going to be able to get pressure, I think Jordan Love's going to be able to really win through the air. I think very quietly, he has had a very good season for the Packers. It just hasn't been it has been stated a lot because Drake May and Matthew Stafford are having two MVP caliber seasons. But Jordan Love being healthy means so much for this offense. And I think for them to go the distance that they want to go to, which is winning the Super Bowl, Jordan Love is going to have to be 100% healthy. They're going to have to lean on his arm. So I think if he's healthy, I think he'll be all right.
Packers fans won't like it, though. Worst case scenario would be a Desmond Ridder replacing Clayton Tune there as the third quarterback on the 53-man. But in terms of impact players for Green Bay, JP, why don't you give us first word?
I'm going with Christian Watson, receiver for the Green Bay Packers, and it's mainly just because when Tucker Kraft went down, somebody had to step up as the number one receiver for the Packers, and I think Christian Watson has that downfield ability, but on top of that, Jordan Love trusts him so much in this game. With the Bears, of course, we talked about how much they can't get pressure, but they can get turnovers. They lead the NFL in takeaways. Of course, there's some volatility in there, and Jordan Love has also thrown a couple turnovers against the Bears this season. But I do think that given the opportunity to attack downfield with Watson, he should be able to create big plays. And on top of that, that should help the run game out a little bit more, especially in a playoff scenario. If they're going to let Jordan Love cook, expect a lot of Christian Watson targets downfield.
Yeah, I'm going to go the flip side of the ball because I trust this Packers offense to move it. I'm not sure I trust this Packers defense to stop the Bears offense. If you go back to the last two games they played, they gave up 150 yards to the Bears and well over 200 yards to the Ravens when they were playing at full strength before they benched everyone in Week 18. That's a worry. So I'm going Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker. He's going to need to have a big game. They're going to have to do some different things at the second level. They can't just play blocks with this front seven as it currently stands. They're going to need to get those linebackers blitzing or at least run blitzing to get them playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage. And Edge Cooper is the best at that, in my opinion, on this Packers roster. So he's going to need to have a big day if they're not going to get run up 150 yards again on the ground.
Once again, this is essentially a coin flip game. I know where Mike's going to go here. So, JP, why don't you give us first word? Are you going head-to-head against Mike here with this game?
I am going to take the Chicago Bears in this game. I just think Green Bay is a little too small on the defensive side of the ball. They have struggled a lot against the run. And I think if the Bears are able to minimize this game and not allow Jordan Love to touch the football with their ground game and their ability to create explosive plays, I think that both these teams have played very tight this season. But I think the Bears' ability to run the football, make this game a little bit shorter, I think that's going to lead to them making it to the divisional round.
Hey, JP, the run game's great, but the passing game is where points are put up on the scoreboard. And while I said Jordan Love is third worst when pressured, he's the best in the NFL when kept clean. And now with Zach Tom back and this offensive line seemingly at full strength enough, I don't think the Bears get any pressure on them. I think the Packers score at will. They didn't have to punt the last time around, and that was with Malik Willis. I'm not sure they punt this time around either.
All right, guys, great stuff, but don't go anywhere. Much more coming up with the guys from PTP. But here's a look at the early game in terms of that Saturday slate. Again, Rams double-digit favorites at the Panthers despite losing there in Week 13. But again, that was a game where Matthew Stafford uncharacteristically turned the ball over 3 times in that 31-28 loss.